Thanks very much for staying with SABC News. The Ministry of Justice says that the criticisms against the pace of prosecutions in high-profile corruption and state capture matters need to be put in context. This follows news that South Africa's bid to extradite the Gupta family from the United Arab Emirates was unsuccessful. This prompted the nation to question whether prosecutions will ever materialize in these matters. SABC News reporter Makangela filed this report.
Since the conclusion of the Commission of Inquiry into State Capture, the public often see a display of high-profile individuals arrested and hauled into the criminal docks over alleged corruption or state capture. While it appeared that the wheels of justice were in motion, concerns are growing over the lack of convictions or the slow pace in high-profile matters before the courts. The Ministry of Justice says that this criticism should also consider that the institutions that must perform this task had to be rebuilt from state capture.
We also should note that state capture itself did lead to a severe denouement of our state law enforcement agencies. And so these agencies have been in the process of being rebuilt. So as we criticize law enforcement agencies for the level of pace that they move at, we should actually also bear in mind that these agencies had been crippled in the past and now have been rebuilt and are now able to bring competent cases so that South Africans can see that justice is being done.
Recently, news broke that the country had failed to secure the extradition of the Gupta brothers on fraud and corruption charges after a UAE court denied the request weeks ago. Self-proclaimed prophet Shepherd Bashiri and his wife Mary Bashiri are still in their homeland of Malawi following their escape from the country in 2020. The Bosasa matter implicating Angelo Agrizzi has been postponed indefinitely due to Agrizzi's ill health. Former eThekwini Mayor Zandile Gumete's corruption trial, the Estina Dairy Farm corruption case implicating Mosebenzi Zwane, and others, as well as the recent Eskom corruption case implicating Matshela Koko, remains ongoing.
What if corruption makes the three to become worse?
Experts at the National Conference on the Constitution recently highlighted the important conversation surrounding, quote-unquote, the lack of effectiveness seen in some state institutions such as the Hawks and the National Prosecuting Authority.
They're at the forefront of holding the very most powerful elites to account. 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago, we saw a matter being heard in Bloemfontein, which is the cornerstone for extraditing the Guptas, the so-called New Lane matter, or what we often refer to as the Nulani matter. In that particular matter, what we have witnessed is that, unfortunately, the prosecuting officials were not even able to make an argument as to why the Gupta leaks, who have been in the public domain for as long as they have, why they should be admitted into evidence.
In the midst of all the uncertainties surrounding the Gupta brothers, Justice Minister Ronald Lamola has assured South Africans that all avenues will be explored to ensure that the brothers are brought to stand trial in South Africa. Kani Mapanga, SABC News, Johannesburg.
All right, Sinawo Makangela is the director at Makangela Mtungani Inc. He's a legal analyst and a lawyer. He joins us now via Zoom. Thanks, as always, for joining us here on SABC News, sir.
Thank you, Flo, for having me. Thank you to the viewers as well.
You're most welcome. Let's talk about whether or not it is fair to highlight or single out high-profile cases as having a propensity to have slow prosecutions. Is that not the general case, or it is in fact that it is in particular the high-profile cases where we see these sort of long, drawn-out delays?
I think you're correct. Those are the cases that are in the public domain. So South Africans, of course, will make their judgment based on those cases that are out there. But then I think if we can consider holistically, remember the point was that the law enforcement agencies do not have to wait for the commission to complete its work. If there's anyone who's implicated, law enforcement agencies must investigate. Those ones must be brought to book from the day the commission started. Perhaps until June or July last year when the commission submitted its report, it is only fair if then South Africans can make that judgment to say, look, this information has been out there. What have you done? What happened to those matters that came out in the public from the first hearings of the commission? And then I think that would be fair enough. And as well, even those that are out there in the public domain, you must consider the percentage because my understanding is that it's about 202 criminal matters that were recommended for criminal investigations and prosecutions, if possible.
Yeah.
How far has the state gone in dealing with those issues? Remember, if you criticize somebody, you must at least deal with the questions of percentages to say, out of that which has been out there in terms of numbers, you have done 50%, you have not done 50%. When did you get the information? Because remember, the information that was in the commission, it was just providing some leads, because you now need to deal with those details to bring those who are the culprits to book.
Yeah. So I want you to please help to weigh in on this perception, and I suppose it's a public domain perception that, you know, it is difficult for government, even though they say they're working hard to prosecute state capture suspects, to indeed do so, because some of those that have been implicated are their own comrades, their own colleagues, their own friends, and that might actually be, you know, really actually causing those delays that we speak of.
I think you have answered. That is the only answer that makes it to be difficult. Otherwise, with the evidence that is out there, it should not even be difficult. That is why you see our government that is blowing hot and cold now. We know that the institutions that were at the center of the state capture, it's ESCOM, it's Transnet. Just a week or two ago, you saw some exemption from those state institutions to account about those that have been brought to book in relation to the criminal activities in those institutions, to say, no. Please allow us not to disclose that information. How come so?
Yeah.
It's of interest to South Africans. They are legalizing those entities. South Africans had to make noise through those NGOs and everyone else. Again, our government came out to say, okay, no, it's fine. Hold on. We're not going to disclose that information. Why do you want to hide that information at Transnet?
Yeah.
And then you come on the same public to trust you to say, look, we are unable to prosecute those that were implicated in the state capture. I mean, there is no such a thing. The state has a capacity to prosecute anyone, anywhere. As you could see today, you could hear today, the minister says tomorrow they are dispatching a team, which is the state has a capacity to get anyone anywhere in the world, but there is no will. Simple.
You talk about public trust, and I mean, how do these delays, you know, erode trust in government and the justice system as a whole? I mean, you even reflecting on the case that's happening now, playing out in front of us, the Bester case, all that has happened, it really does work at eroding that public trust. Is there even still public trust in government and the justice system as a whole?
Maybe now they're operating with the reserves if there is such a public trust. Remember, I think I saw something as well in the social media. You know, South Africans are free to express themselves there. Some don't even believe that those escapees have been the escapee has been arrested in Thabo Best, to show that the level of trust has deteriorated to that level. When our government comes, communicate with the nation, people can even doubt that message that is coming from the state, because they also link it with the Guptas, where they are arrested in the first place. Those are the questions that are out there. What informs that? It's the question of trust that has gone below some unimaginable levels. I mean, I believe that if the state can take some proactive measures, we know the process, take the country into confidence, don't come and react, make it make sense that the issue of the Guptas was decided in February and you only knew it yesterday. I mean, what is that? Just make it make sense to the South Africans. You could see that even the minister, when he was explaining, it's like it's somebody who does not believe it himself, you know. So those are some of the issues. They just make some of the South Africans to lose hope. Must they go and report those criminal activities? We have seen the ex-minister, the ex-CEO of ESCOM, who only told the South Africans in the television interview about the criminal activities that are taking place at ESCOM. But the question remains, why didn't you report it to law enforcement agencies? Well, the answer is out there for everyone to see that, well, he does not have confidence. Is he the only one? Well, we do not know.
Yeah. You know, there's been a lot of blame put on resources, and you rightly point out the fact that when they want resources to be available, they are available. But one of the arguments that I saw being put forward by the Justice Ministry through its spokesperson is that you know, it's all really about certain institutions having been previously crippled, and I assume they're talking about in the previous administration. Is that a case of passing the buck generally?
No, that's a clear justification. Remember, everyone is accountable to the Constitution here. NPA was never closed, but they had to change the leadership. The prosecutors remains the same. Good prosecutors are still within the institution. You've got the institutional memory. Give the work to the right people. It's the question of, it's that very question that you raised earlier of the cover up, because when they move closer, it gets to implicate those that are closer to those who are leading at the time. There's no other answer that you can tell the South Africans. The information is out there. As I say, Flo, the state is capacitated to arrest anyone who is implicated in the corrupt activities. But who are those people?
Yeah.
That remains a question. When are they going to move? There is no will for them to move.
Yeah.
If we talk about the percentage, at least give South Africans the confidence that out of those matters, you can't only show us the Gupta and the Mosebenzi Zwane. Those were not the only two cases. What about other cases? What about the one that was thrown out of the window in Bloemfontein? What is happening there? Are you giving support to those prosecutors in those courtrooms? Because if you talk about state institutions, prosecutors have been in courts. They've not, in each and every court in the country, there's been a prosecutor ready, willing to do his work. There's been a police officer, but the road has been in the top level management that has had to be changed. Now, is the new management giving support to those who are executing the task at the ground level? That remains the question to be answered.
All right. Thanks very much, as always, for giving us your input here on SABC News. Sinawo Makangela is the director at Makangela Mtungani Inc. He's a lawyer and legal analyst. Thanks very much to him for that legal analysis.